Hello, and welcome to another edition of PentaLive from Pentalog, where we bring you tools and techniques that you can use to survive and thrive in the world of COVID-19. I'm Peter Green in New York, and today we'll be speaking with Joel Bentolila, who is the founder and CTO of a company called Talentsoft in France. It's an HR software as service provider. Joel will be talking to us about platforms and other interesting things in that line. A reminder to all our viewers, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat next to the video, and our producer in Brittany, Christelle Lozeau, will read them out at the appropriate moment. We'll be right back after a little bit of music. Hello, Joel, and welcome to what we call DEF CON 19.
Hello, Peter.
Thanks for being with us. Hi. So Talentsoft is one of the few French tech unicorns, but I think what really sets it apart is an extraordinary agility and the fact that it's really evolved from a suite of services, an integrated suite, into more of a platform that others can integrate their software into as well. So I'm hoping you can tell us a bit about that and what makes you unique and how that can be a new way forward for many online companies.
Yeah, sure, Peter. Hello, everyone. Yes, I can maybe start by explaining who we are, maybe, and explain what this journey is from, let's say, an integrated software suite, be it in SaaS mode, to a platform and all the strategy around that. Well, maybe to start with, just to explain, we are selling to companies, so we are in the B2B area. And we sell a software suite that helps companies just to better know their employees, to better recruit candidates and to liaise and to engage with candidates, and then to manage the whole career, training, salaries, employability, competencies of the employees within a company, just to make sure they can match really the ambitions of the company with the aspirations of people, because, well, we all know that this is how you make a company successful and thrive, especially through a crisis like this one. So this is where we are, and we have a very strong European DNA. We are born in Europe, so we sort of know about the complexity of the European market, which is, quite high actually, and we've evolved over time. Even though we've been very successful as a SaaS company, we felt there was a time when we needed just to multiply all the factors of the company, the growth, the capacity to serve the clients. We had to do something, and there was a bit of a tipping point, if I can say so, when we realized that, first of all, we were never enough in the R&D to satisfy all the needs. And even though, a SaaS company is not supposed to fulfill 100% of the need of their customers, it's something which is common. So when you are at 90, 95%, it's very good, actually. But still, even that core set of needs in the HR area, it's so buoying and so changing all the time with emerging new needs that, first of all, we had a hard time just satisfying this core area of ours. And then we also realized, with the pressure on the market, that we were growing a set of partners around our ecosystem that wanted more and more to address our customer base. Over a period of 13 years, we've accumulated about 2,000 customers. So that is of big interest for partners.
Yeah.
And that was the tipping point.
And so you're saying that economically it just didn't make a lot of sense to try to develop the software that each of them used. So like some people would use one billing software, some would use another one, and it was easier for them to bring their own, or how does this?
Yeah, actually in the HR area, yes. We provide already a lot of features and is growing all the time. We have a portfolio of modules and features which is growing quite big now, but it's never enough. And we don't have the ambition to develop everything ourselves. We think a better idea, and that's how started the idea of the platform, by also looking at the market and what big guys were doing and trying to model that as well. But the idea was, let's concentrate on the core and focus on the core features that we think are essential to the set of and the scope of Talentsoft, and let partners bring additional functionalities to our own platform as if it was Talentsoft providing them. So with a very smooth user experience, very tight security. That was the model. And we realized it was possible, actually, because we had reached a critical size and because partners wanted to come over and complete our platform or to augment it so that customers could benefit not only from the core features we provided, but also to benefit from the features that maybe their own partners actually could bring to the platform. That's how it all started.
So as much a business decision as a technical decision then?
Oh, completely, yeah. Well, I come from the technique, so obviously the first elements that came to my mind were the technical elements, such as how you interface to partners, how you become generic enough so that many partners can come in, and so on and so forth. Maybe we can elaborate on that, but truly what is at the core is the business model and the mindset of all the teams within Talentsoft. So just to give you a few examples, it's not the same doing business on your own, doing direct sales, for example, and doing business with an ecosystem of partners around you. Well, where the sales guys have, in the first instance, the idea that they should call so and so in order to map exactly what the ecosystem of people are around the prospect, and then you can do some teamwork and some team hunting to actually get your business. So it's a different mindset, and it's not obvious to acquire it. It takes time. The way also you communicate is not the same. So marketing, lead generation, and communication have to change the mindset as well. And of course, the product team has to think completely differently about what the product does. And as a whole, as a company, it's like making tough choices about what is essential that we do ourselves and what is the room that is for partners in the way we build the product.
So opening up your system to other people means you give them access to your APIs. Usually that's sort of seen as just a data portal, but in fact, for you, it's a little bit more than that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, actually, it's a good analogy with what we started with first. It was a kind of a naive approach we had at the beginning, where we said, okay, if we give access endpoints that give and take the data, that should be it, and partners should do the job with that. But actually, that's not the way it works, and you have to learn that. And now, after a while, there are, I think, a lot of companies that have understood this, but we learned it on the field. We had to discover it, that it's not enough. What really is expected from partners is more a business approach to APIs, things that do something meaningful, valuable, that you can almost put money in front of it because it solves a problem, or people are ready to pay for it, or whatever. Okay, and so the idea is more to build APIs that have a functional meaning and a business meaning. So you have to put more thinking into it, and it's more complex to build. And we have to build it the way we build pages of the applications with a product owner. It's the same, actually. They have to find a business reason, make choices between things that have value or that have maybe less value, so that you have to arbitrate between those things.
And when you do this, when you bring in these other pieces, you have kind of a lookbook or something so that it's from a user experience, it's completely integrated?
Oh, yeah, that was, again, we learned it the hard way. Well, we learned a lot of things the hard way, by the way. Yeah, it is essential. That was after we thought it really thoroughly. This was one point we wanted to keep. And this one point is the contact with the end user within our platform. So this we didn't want to let out. Mm-hmm. And to do that, you have to give an experience to the user that is complete and homogeneous. Or said otherwise, the user must not see, or not too much at least, that he's going, or he or she is going from one feature that is provided by Talentsoft naturally to a feature which is not provided by Talentsoft. And then it must be seamless. And to achieve this seamless aspect, we decided to keep the user experience. And technically, the way we kept this is that we provided the partners with what we call a design system. Well, to make it simple, the design system is something whereby you give some kind of tools which are from very basic to more complex, where a partner can build a user interface with those basic tools so that they cannot do something out of the look and feel and the navigation and the user experience that we decided Talentsoft should have. They cannot do that.
And they don't have a problem with these customers basically feeling that they're your customers, even though it's sort of a joint customer?
That's a touchy point, yeah. There are discussions usually about that. And this is why it is hard to keep the endpoint, because everyone wants the endpoint. You see, it's so much value. Yeah, you're right. It's a problem. Yeah.
Well, that raises two questions. So the first one I want to ask you about is just the revenue models for these integrations. Do you charge them? Does the end user pay them and then you share the revenue? Do you charge the other software company? Is it a license, a fee per use? How do you get money out of it?
Yeah, that's a good point. We studied a lot of models, and there are a lot out there. You have the very advanced Apple model with the apps, or you have more techie models and so on. Given the level of maturity we had at the time, that was about 2 years ago, so it's not a long time actually, we decided not to charge or not to take a part of the value of the partner. So if the partner sells for $100, we don't take any of those dollars in our pocket. We let all this money from the end customer to the partner. We do charge an annual fee to the partner, though, just to exist in the platform, to do co-selling, co-marketing, and to have access to our what we call our SDK, our software development environment, and have full access to our support and our API. But it's not proportional to the business they do with us. If they do more business, fine, good for them. And we just take this fee. The value for us is not so much to try to make money out of the license of the partner. It is actually to have a more thorough platform, more complete, to offload a part of our R&D to the partner. Mm-hmm. We call it co-innovation. We don't have the monopoly of innovation, and we are quite humble about that. Even though we do have a lot of innovations in our platform, we don't have the monopoly. So, okay, a partner wants to come in and bring an innovation, no problem. As long as it's not in our core business, we are very happy to get it. So they get the reward of it by getting the business. We get more sticky customers, more loyal customers for a longer time as well, and less R&D, or a way not to grow our R&D to infinity, which is also a nice thing to have in a SaaS model.
But you also get, as a part of this, a lot more transactions, a lot more connections happening on the platform, which gives you more data, which can be translated into more money.
Exactly.
Basically.
We learn more about the customers. We learn more about the usage, for example. So this is very useful also to make arbitrations and choices for the future. We are not yet at the point where we can sell anonymized insight on this data. You know, the European laws are quite, let's say, strict on the property of the data. So that's not the kind of thing we do today. Maybe we will do it as a sort of a market observatory, very anonymized and very statistical, as opposed to, you know, being specifically on the data on one customer, because this is something we don't want to do for ethical reasons, and we'll never do that. But one day we might do something more aggregated. However, in the meantime, yes, it's a lot of value, because when you have the relationship with the end customer, that has a lot of value. And also, we learn a lot about the way the platform is used from the partner standpoint and from the core feature standpoint from Talentsoft.
So that lets you refine the development of your platform, and then that helps you keep the customer. You were saying when we first spoke that you said 2,200 customers, but that's about 10 million users, is that?
Yes. As I said, we were born in Europe, but our users are everywhere. In the last count from the last 3 months, I do usually a long period of 3 months to calculate the number of countries, the number of users, and in the last 3 months it's 124 countries and growing. So that's a lot of places in the world where from which the product is used, even though the contracts are signed in majority in Europe and Canada. These are the two big places where we are present.
And does your platform run in multiple languages?
Yeah, we have 27 languages already implemented in the platform, and growing again. This is industrial now, you know. The way to add a new platform, a new language in the platform is quite straightforward. It's a matter of translating, quality translation, and then it can go into the platform. Yeah.
So how big is your own staff of your company?
Okay, at the beginning of the year, we were about 600 plus a lot of subcontractors and partners working with us, which makes it about 700 people today. And we're still growing, although not as fast in terms of people as at the beginning of the company, but we're still growing very fast in terms of revenues. And in terms of traffic. Actually, the traffic is growing faster than the revenues, even 40% growth in the traffic every year, because just this area of HR and taking care of people has become a strategic element in all companies. Transformation of work is strategic, and that impacts all the people. So obviously, HR is one key element for change in all companies now. Yeah.
So let me ask you, just going back for a second, you talk about making your customers that it's worth, in some cases, not having a significant financial result from some of these software partners because you keep your customers happy. Generally the number that you read is that a 1% retention increase in percent. Let me try that again. Sorry. A single percentage point increase in retention is worth a 10% increase in revenue. How does that? Are you finding that number works in your business, or what's the?
Yeah, probably it's a bit less in the B2B, but it's clearly between 5 and 10% easily, because the effort you make to keep a customer happy is less than the effort you make to acquire a customer. So the longer those customers stay with you is the better, because the benefit for everyone is good. For the customer, because they don't have to rethink and redesign their HR system, as long as we bring continuous innovations, of course, because otherwise it can get nasty.
Yeah.
But if you do that, and if you take care of the relationship with the customer, it's less expensive for a SaaS company than to acquire a customer. Right? Mm-hmm. So yes, the longer the better.
The other, one of the big things on everyone's mind right now is internet security and IT security. With a platform that's as open as yours, how do you maintain security? What should, people who are watching this think about, of the security risks and the things to watch out for?
Yeah, there are a couple of things to say about that. But first, to stick to the platform
can I interrupt
question.
You for 1 second?
Yeah.
1 second. I just want to say, everyone out there, if you do have questions, please send them along. Just message them in the side of the video, and Christelle will read them out.
Yeah, and also, if I get too technical, don't hesitate to raise your hand. I'll explain the concept. I may get too enthusiastic and forget about explaining the ideas sometimes. So yeah, and security can get quite techy. So just try to bear with me a second.
Okay.
The first point regarding security on the platform is we didn't find another way than to actually keep the security aspects with us, not with the partners. We didn't delegate anything. I don't know, there may be other models, but we didn't find any. So we decided to keep authentication of users, credentials, and scope of rights within the platform in Talentsoft. And partners have to stick to that. They cannot invent their own security scheme. We don't let that happen, okay? So that's for the platform. Now, in a more global sense, Talentsoft is acting in the domain of HR. And in HR, if you talk about employees and candidates, we are talking about personal data, indeed.
Yeah.
And personal data is a very sensitive topic when you talk about personal data. And we have historically, from the start, we had to be very careful with the security. We've been audited quite a number of times. Even today, we are audited between 3 and 4 times a month, which is big because an audit is quite time-consuming.
By your customers or
customers,
by
yeah.
officials? Yeah.
Customers, and we pay external auditors as well on our own money to give reports to customers. So that's twofold, and it's going on and on. It will never stop because security is an ongoing topic. It's never finished, never finished. So yeah, it's a big investment for a company like Talentsoft, and we are never up to the end of the task. We are always questioning what have we done, can we do better, and we always find new topics to cover. I would say, unfortunately, because even though I think we are quite good now, we do still have a lot of things to learn.
So let me ask you, we talked a little about this, but I think it's really a key point to what you do is reaching the decision that something is not worth doing yourself and deciding that it's much better for either to solicit an outside company to integrate their existing solution into what you're doing, or to allow your customers to bring in a solution that they're working with. And when do you decide that, how do you make that decision that this is not profitable for us to do?
Yeah, it's a good. I wish I had a sort of magic wand to decide this. Yeah. It's always a tough choice, but I think it's very healthy to do, actually, because it forces you to define what is core to your business and what is not. Yeah. And in the general management committee of Talentsoft, and so it's way beyond just the product team, you see. We always have big debates about that. And we have to, even when we make a decision, we allow ourselves to reconsider that decision like 6 months later, just to make sure we are on the right track, because we are very much in this iterative test and learn approach in Talentsoft. So there is no exception there. For product decisions is the same. But I would say the process itself, rather than being sure to make the right decision, is we take a subject and we say, is it something we can tackle for the long term ourselves or not? So
Yeah.
if you in the HR area, there are subjects like this. For example, payroll is clearly something we don't have the ambition to do. And it's not tomorrow that we will change this decision. I don't know what after tomorrow is, but clearly I can tell you today, there's no way we can get into this domain. It's too specialized, and you need too much investment to actually do something meaningful. There are areas which are in between. Again, I'll take examples that all of the people who work may know, like absence management. You know, when you go on vacation or when you are sick, you declare the time when you're not there. This is in between. This is clearly HR. It's sticky to a platform because you tend to use it on a regular basis. It's not too complex. So maybe one day we do that. But then on the side, you take time and attendance. And this is a big domain, very complex, very rich, that goes way beyond absence management. It's when you do time tracking or you plan the future of shifts of work in the company. Yeah. And this becomes a nightmare if you want to tackle it from zero. So this is a job for specialists. And this is the way we decide. This is for specialists. This is not for specialists. And this is connects to our platform, or this is too far away. Mm-hmm. And this is the way we make decisions. So we concentrate on what we do best, and we let partners team up with us to bring the missing part that we don't do. A hard job, actually.
Let me ask you a question completely unrelated, sort of out of left field, as we say in American, using the baseball idiom. But yesterday on the PentaLive, we interviewed a fellow who is a guru about quantum computing. And one of the things he spoke about is that in a few years, quantum computing will be available to just about anybody with the cash to pay for it. And it will have, everything will be calculated incredibly faster because of the nature of quantum computing, but that it also impacts things like security, that any password now can be cracked. If it's residing on a system, it can be cracked. It's just so much faster to run through every possible combination to get there. But many other things too. Are there, now that I've spoken with this guy, I want to start asking people, have you thought about quantum computing at all, that what that kind of processing speed would bring and what you might do with it?
Okay, it's actually
if you haven't, that's fine.
Okay, we haven't, but as a CTO, of course, I'm very interested, and I read a lot of things about quantum computing. And let me try to build a link between the two. And it's a loosely coupled link for now, but maybe one day it will be a tighter link. The first one is, as you said, is security. And why is it linked to HR? It's because of data protection, right? And data in Talentsoft has a value because you know the people, you know the competencies, you know the jobs. So of course this has a lot of value. So this is a risk for us, clearly. The risk that people can crack the data and get access to it. Okay, again, as in any notion of security, you have a gain and a cost. So as long as the cost to have this gain is very high, it may be not worth the effort to crack Talentsoft. But maybe one day, either the cost goes down, the value goes up, I don't know, maybe both, and it becomes an issue. Yes. And in that case, my hope, and it's only a hope today, is that quantum computing not only brings the way to crack current security, but also bring the way to build up a better security, both. So we're back to square one. If we can afford the quantum security, maybe the problem also goes, the problem of the legacy security goes away as well. I don't know, but it's really time, food for thought for the next few years, I suppose. So that's the first link. And the second link might be, although it's probably not necessary today, but it's to crunch the data for machine learning purposes. And I suppose at this point that it will be much faster when we have quantum computing as a service than it is today. Although we can still get by today with the current technology to crunch the data and get some meaningful insights on the competencies, people, and matching between people and jobs, for example, which is a common area of interest in HR today.
Wow. Joel, thank you very much. Thank you for being here with us for PentaLive from Pentalog in the segment we call DEFCON 19 to prepare to deal with COVID-19. Really interesting. You must be having a nice time there outside of Paris. New York's still a bit under lockdown. So thank you very much for joining us. Christelle Lezeau in Brittany, our producer, thank you for making this all happen. And we will see everybody next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which is about 7 p.m. in Paris and 10 a.m. in Silicon Valley. So until then, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye.